But speaking of Donald Trump, anyone else want to interrupt me?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I don't want to really dwell too much on this. This is more of a Sam story, but I think it would be. But it is the big story today, and I don't want to not talk about it. But we can spend a few minutes. Donald Trump tweeting out today that maybe we should delay the election because of mail-in ballots.
Ooh.
And apparently, some Fox News hosts Fox Business at least. Let's not stray too far from the path here. Some Fox Business hosts apparently don't think it's such a bad idea either.
That tweet from President Trump came out about 30 minutes ago, really riling the markets and roiling politics. Pay attention to the last sentence. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote. Come in, please, Senator John Barrasso, Republican from Wyoming. Delay the vote? What do you say, Mr. Senator?
Well, I think we're going to vote on Election Day, and the lead up to Election Day, it'll be a secure election, and we will, if I can have anything to do with it, we will re-elect Donald Trump president of the United States.
Mr. Senator, I do apologize for interrupting you, but if we have mail-in balloting the way it's scheduled now, there is absolutely no way you will get an election result on election night or even in the first few days. That means confusion and endless challenges. That is a mess. What do you think? Delay the election?
No, we're not going to delay the election, Stuart. We're going to have the election completed and voting completed by Election Day. It's going to take a while to get all the votes counted, I am certain. We need to, though, continue to do this as we do state by state. You know, Nancy Pelosi in her bill dealing with coronavirus wants a...
First of all, it's interesting to see that even this Republican senator has the wherewithal to realize that delaying the election would be pretty bad even for Republicans. It would not go well for them. Like, it would not work in their favor. Second of all, the idea we would have to wait a little bit longer for the results, there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, that just showcases that we took the time to make sure that all the results were fine and dandy and they came in legitimately, and all the X's and O's were crossed and filled in and dotted the I's and all that fun analogous stuff people like to say.
But I want it now.
Right.
Well, it's just purely driven by the demands of cable news and the news industry at large. Like,
right.
We should stop this expectation. I mean, maybe like 100 years ago, first of all, we shouldn't have made it more complex. We should still just be doing paper ballots with like a few redundancies so that nothing can screw up. But yeah, let's make it a couple weeks, whatever, right? Like, and I don't know. And we should fund these things so we can actually count them that way, in a way that's reliable. And, I don't know. All this is down to election funding. I don't unless we're going to focus on, making sure everyone has paper ballots and we can get it to them, that it really bugs me that we go to these false concerns.
Yeah. Well, they're laying the groundwork for a massive amount of voter suppression, right? Like, I've seen it bandied about sort of as conventional wisdom right now that Biden's polling well against Trump. And the only way that Trump's going to be able to win this time around is through voter suppression on a level not seen since the Jim Crow era, to which I say, maybe they can do that. I don't know. It seems like the amount of focus that they're placing on the vote right now is concerning, and the projection of concerns about voter fraud. Oh, all these undocumented immigrants or whoever is going to mail in fake ballots. That's just a smokescreen for the suppression that they're going to attempt.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with waiting for election results to come in before we declare a winner. That's how we know that it was a free and fair election. I mean, what happens when, when something happening, like when people say there's something sketchy going on because results are coming out too soon when they shouldn't be. And then before you know it, there's a coup against a socialist leader in South America. And then you have a religious nut running the country. I mean, we don't want something like that happening, do we? I mean, I'm talking about Bolivia. It's become pretty clear now that whole situation was, it was pretty clear then, but 100% proven now that
It
whole
was
situation
2020 vision back then, and now it's 2015.
Yep.
Right.
You
Right.
hear that, David Pakman?
Right. What did David Pakman do?
I don't know.
He's had some bad takes around it.
Well,
It's okay. He can come attend my re-education camp someday and learn about imperialism.
Maybe in a future Pac-Man Antifada crossover.
well, I'll come on any show you need, because apparently I need to do some reach out to David Pakman as well, because he apparently isn't very happy with me. But that's a story for another day. Let's keep it
whatever.
Let's keep it happy.
We're all friends.
Yes, I mean, I didn't mean anything by it. It was completely, but I don't need to explain myself. It should have been clear.
Yeah. But anyway, it's in the Constitution that they can't delay the election, and we all know that the Republicans always follow the rules, so it's going to be fine.
Look,
Right, but listen, I will say the idea that I know liberals are going apeshit on Twitter over this, but the idea that Trump would not have an election, and then the inauguration would come and he'd be out of office, and then because there was no election, we don't have a president, Nancy Pelosi would be that she's Speaker of the House, she'd become the president. I mean, it is a liberal, a silly liberal fever dream, much like very analogous with what was her name, Louise Mensch, believing that Orrin Hatch would become the president of the United States through a series of Trump and Pence and a number of other Republicans would be found to be guilty of treason. It would be very funny, because you know what their reaction would be if that happened. I mean, as much as the left doesn't like Nancy Pelosi, we got nothing on the Republican hatred for her. So it would be pretty funny to see it happen. Purely from a hysteric standpoint, I would get a kick out of it.
The limiting factor as far as the GOP doing, a new type of Jim Crow voter suppression or whatever, is not in their desire to do so, because I think they definitely want to and wish they could. I think it's going to be the competence they have in actually administering something like that in front, while everyone, especially the suburban resistancers, are watching them like a hawk. I don't think it's impossible. I mean, I thought, you never know what's going to happen in October, right?
I mean, the previous attempts by them to do that was Chris Kobach in Kansas, and he ended up getting himself, indicted for his voter fraud.
And so, I don't fully look, anything could happen, right? But I also think what Trump is doing is sort of setting the predicate, so he can say that he's like, I'll step down because they were going against me anyway, and I'm a martyr now.
Oh, right. Biden mentioned this months ago, how he wouldn't be surprised if Trump wanted to push the election, and Republicans hit him for that. And, it seems pretty, maybe he was jumping the gun to say that out loud, but it seems like a pretty bad bet to attack Biden for saying that and assume that Trump wouldn't have eventually floated the idea. But it does seem like the reason he's floating it isn't because he's planning on delaying the election. It's just to, throw illegitimacy at the election results.
Yeah,
that's the total point for it.
It's very possible. Oh my God, I totally had something I was going to say. Oh yeah. So here's where I think might be a good point of intervention for leftists who want to participate in this process on the national scale, but aren't that stoked to volunteer for Joe Biden. They can do voter protection. They can go watch the election. They can be legal observers. They can just get in between people and whoever's trying to intimidate them. They can do this kind of work, because that is something I think we can all agree on, right? I'm very skeptical about the efficacy of voting and bourgeois democracy in general, but it's still bad when they try to take it away from people, right?
Right. You heard it right here, folks. Jamie Peck is going to show up at an electoral site and make sure you vote for Joe Biden.
I think that's great. I think that's a great something to do, because I'm very skeptical of the New York Democratic Party, frankly, with my attempts to vote in both 2016 and 2020 primaries. I think there's some serious shenanigans going on with that stuff, and I think the more people that volunteer to witness these sorts of things is really, really good. And yeah, I would second Jamie's.
Yeah. And you know what else? It might help bridge the divide between young supporters of Bernie Sanders of all races and the older, particularly older Black voters in the South who didn't vote for Bernie in large numbers, right? Because voting rights are something that they care about. Generally speaking, it's something their generation fought for and died for. And I think that could be a real coalition building opportunity.
Right.